once we're there, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big. So I would hope that anybody who could make their way to Knoxville, Tennessee, August 18th, come on down. We're hoping. Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of a technical behind-the-scenes issue that we were trying to deal with. Mainly, I was rambling on and running off at the mouth. I was a shit salesman with a mouthful of samples, you might say. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of the Weekly Roundtable. My name is Frank Johnson, co-founder and co-host of the show. To my right, Michael Marshall, co-founder of the Liberty First Foundation. Just below me, Michael Vasquez, Dragon of New York, the only independent journalist left in America who tells you the way it is without giving you no bullshit. And of course, our alternative lifestyle expert, Jan Range, joining us once again from the great state of West Virginia. How the hell is everybody doing this evening?
Good.
Pretty good.
Good.
Especially after last night. That was crazy.
Well, I figure at least, we have 4 of us. I would hope at least 3 of us are a little bit more awake than one of the last night's participants.
If you're not dead, you're more awake than Biden.
All right. Now, listen, I'm gonna go into as honest as I possibly can be. I purposely did not watch any of the debate last night. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to sully my own point of view when I wanted to watch the reactions of the media pundits on both the left and the right and compare them to what I've seen from Joe Average.
Yeah.
So I like I said, for me, I'm showing up at the crash scene after the accident has taken place. And I'm just trying to look as an analyst to see, okay, what the hell happened at this thing? And as far as
was shocked.
It was a train wreck.
Everyone was shocked. No one was prepared for what we saw.
Yeah, it was a train wreck. Okay, and honestly, Trump didn't do that great in it either.
In the beginning, no, the first half he was good. Second half, not so much. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about the debate now or later, but
That's fine. Go ahead. I already started the timer.
okay.
Oh yes, that's right. The show is now being timed. We're on a strict schedule. Jan is our official timekeeper. We got to get her a referee shirt.
Yeah,
Referee, a whistle.
When the time comes.
We'll get her a buzzer.
A little whip, one of those little toy whips, bang. But I rated, if I had to, I rated it. So the first half, Trump was like at 85. He was on point. He was sharp. He was controlled. He was really, really good with his answers. And he was dominating, of course. And CNN wasn't ready for that. Even though they were prepared to try and shut him down. Tapper, first thing he says is, nope, you don't get to have a response, Trump. We're going to keep on moving forward, which is telling you already, CNN tanking for Biden. They want to give Biden every advantage they can. Got rid of the audience, muting everyone. They're trying to give Biden everything they can. So Trump got an 85 the first half. Second half, I got to tell you, he got 60. He was on too many tangents, didn't answer all the questions. He answered a lot of questions after the fact, like he was following up a lot, but he was on too many tangents. He was still dominating the event. He was still answering more questions than not, but he definitely taken a step down. That's about the same time that Biden, the meds kicked in. And he suddenly, could answer a question, kind of. And then they came back and did their closes, which, whatever. I didn't count that part. So overall, I'd say like Trump did 75. If you were grading it, he had like a 75. Joe Biden, 25, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Throw down about who has better golf swing.
It tells you how far into the weeds they got. They're talking about golf and who's the better golfer. Like anyone cares. and only golfers even knew what the hell they were talking about. So, I mean, there's that. That was crazy. But I mean, literally, it was the zombie president talking, trying to debate Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was
Most of the time
interesting?
you couldn't even understand his answer.
He
Go
didn't
ahead,
understand. No one did. Go ahead, Jen.
You know what I thought was interesting, and I didn't see it until maybe about a half hour after the debate was over with. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to watch it. RFK had his own debate set up with their debate. He had a moderator and he had an audience. And
Yeah.
he was in LA and they were playing the debate. And when they got done answering questions, and they would let him answer. So I think, like I said, I haven't watched it yet, but I am interested in watching it.
Yeah, that
Almost
would be
no one did.
interesting.
Almost no one saw the RFK thing. Mind you, the best thing that happened for RFK is that Joe Biden went zombie.
Yeah.
That's what's helping RFK. That's the only thing that's helping his case.
Well, that look he kept giving last night.
What, with the open mouth? And that was
Yeah.
even better. I actually I screenshot it. I got the image of him with his open mouth, just lost. He just, I don't know what galaxy he was in. It wasn't ours.
No. You could tell that he was not there. He was not with it all the way throughout.
Yeah.
Even though he's doing better with his answers in the last half, he still, you could tell that he had checked out.
Massively. It was, I've never seen 56 years. I've never seen a presidential debate so bad. And I mean, for you, Frank, what did you see? Van Jones about to cry. CNN, MSNBC, they're wrecked.
When Van Jones says that the performance was painful, then you know you've lost. What is it? When you've lost Walter Cronkite, you've lost the war. Well, when you lose Van Jones, you lost your party's confidence. But the thing that I took away from more than anything else last night was there was the Reagan Mondale moment. There was I don't understand what he just said, and I don't think he understood it either.
Direct quote from Trump. Yeah.
Right. Quoting from Trump. That was the Reagan Mondale moment of last night. More than anything else that was said, more than any of the hyperbole, any of the back and forth, anything else like that. That last 5 seconds of incoherent mumbling, which I actually listened to, and I understood what he said after about the 8th time that I listened to it. That was the moment that I think most people are going to take away from the debate, and that's also going to be the moment that's replayed over and over most over the next couple of weeks while we wait for round 2, if there is one. The other thing I took away from the debate was the post-debate performance. There was one step coming from the platform down to the moderator level.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
you're talking about Jill
had to help him down the one step.
Yeah, Jill was
just
leading him.
talking about you have an 8 handicap while you were vice president. Now you have a 6 handicap, 4 on a good day, but you can't navigate down a 6-inch step platform from the riser to the lower level without being helped by your much younger wife. And you're going to talk about your fitness as president after everybody just saw your performance for the last two hours.
Well, was it?
That was the Dukakis moment that was Michael Dukakis sticking his head out of an A1 Abrams with that silly friggin' helmet on. That was the John Kerry moment of him exploring the mock-up of the space station wearing the Smurf outfit. They don't understand that that was like a hot mic moment. They don't realize the cameras was still rolling.
Yeah.
Why would you, if you're president of the United States, you've got the authority, you have the power, you have the the presence of the office, the power of the office. Why are you going down to visit with the moderators when you
No,
know
they
you
always
can't
do.
walk down a step? Invite the
right.
moderators up to you. That's the power play. You bring people to you. That's the power play. You don't do that. He goes down and he meets them like Mealy Mouse. It was a bad show. Looking at the optics, most people aren't going to be concerned with the minutia of most of the answers because all they have to do is look at their receipts and know what they're paying for gas, for fuel, for food, for rent, electricity, and everything else. They don't care about that. They see the headlines of people being murdered on the streets by illegal aliens. They don't care about you trying to claim that lowers a number now than they were 4 years ago. People are comparing what you said to the real world, and they're not going to listen to your lie about what programs you had when they remember 4 years ago what it was. Now, somebody did a very, very interesting experiment. If you have an Amazon account and you've ever bought food or anything else like that, if you have like one of these, Amazon Deliver, whatever it is,
Checking out the bills before.
go back and look at one of your orders from 4 years ago, and you'll see a button that says repeat order. Look at what you paid, hit repeat order, and then look at the price today. That's
It'll be
all
30 to 40% more.
That 4 times.
Depends on the item.
Did it myself. I had sent groceries to my mom, and I did it before. My bill that I sent to my mother was like $250 worth of groceries. It was almost $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I watched videos today, people doing it, $150 worth of groceries, $500. That's what they're paying. People care about the here and now.
No,
They see the optics, they know what they're hurting, and they watch the after effects of that. It was a bad night for Joe Biden.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first question was on economics. It was literally CNN. First thing they admitted was, all right, there's 20% inflation. According to their numbers, it's 20% inflation. Averaging nationally, all the data I've seen is, and this is general data, you're looking at between 30 to 40%, depending on where you are. And there are many examples, depending on the food item, eggs or some other items, lettuce, you're talking about 200, 300, 400% increases. Not a surprise to me. But I mean, remember it was just earlier this week when there was it was last week when you heard David Hogg and the rest of them saying, no, Obama wasn't escorting Biden off the stage. Look at the video. And when everyone looked at the video, Obama was escorting Biden off the stage.
Yeah.
But because you had the mainstream media covering that up and saying, oh, they're not showing me the video. That's the wrong clip. It's been fake. It's a fake video. Now they can't claim that. And everyone's remembering they've been lying. They have been hiding this from us. It is this bad. And I know Biden today said, oh, I fell down and I'm getting back up. No, dude, you buried yourself and you're not getting up. That's why Democrats, New York Times, John mentioned it in the comments. New York Times is calling for Biden to be replaced. Last night, Politico is coming up. He's toast. There should be someone else in their place. We're hearing progressives left and right screaming at the top of their lungs that they got to get someone else in. If you go to Predict It, I think I have it here. Matter of fact, I do. I'll show you guys something. I'm going to show you guys a screen which is coming from Predict It. This is the prediction, the betting money right now. Now, if you forget the numbers right here, yeah, they expect to see Trump win. Fair enough. But here's the part that's important. This was last night. And if you look at the numbers, that's Trump. He had a slight increase. This is Biden. He dropped hard in less than 24 hours. Last night, I checked this right after the debate. It was already at this level. He dropped last night instantly. And you see a skyrocket for Kamala, who's most likely 25th Amendment going to take his place, and Gavin Newsom, who's got the outside chance He's praying. He's hoping and praying that he could beat out Kamala. He's up. It just tells you how bad this was.
Well, here's how bad it was. Okay, this is from Eric Swalwell. Okay, and he is freaking out about last night. I get it. I've seen your text, tweets. Here's the deal. We have to have the House. We can be Biden's flame or Trump's firewall. One more promise. Send Will Robbins CA to Congress and we will flip the seat, and that happens. Give $10 at blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they've given up. Democrats have given up on the 2024 election. Doesn't matter who they...
Their only hope is to take the House or the Senate.
That's what they're going to focus on. They have given up on this election. Doesn't matter who's the front runner, whoever they get in the convention. They're going to focus on, and that's the word that's spreading through all of DC. Give up the election, not going to win, get House and Senate. They already know they've lost.
And they are going to continue with their narrative that in order we won't win the presidency, but in order to stop Trump, we must have the House and Senate. That's going to be their messaging. They're going to regroup for the House and Senate.
We still got about 5 minutes left in the segment, but something I wanted to bring up and have you guys discuss is because it does have to do with the ex-president, and we've got a sentencing coming up here soon. We've got other trials that they want. The Supreme Court came out today and ruled with the J6ers.
Right.
And that does play a part in one of the trials that they want to put Trump on for. So you guys got about 6 more minutes. So discuss.
Well, that was one of the bad things about Trump last night. He dodged the January 6th discussion.
He did.
And it was pretty blatant that he was just dodging it. But we know Supreme Court came out and said there was an overreaction, which that's backed up by the video that we've seen. It's backed up by, and I'm talking about the video of the Capitol. We saw that. It's backed up by what Trump has said about what he did, what we see in his announcements that he made, his speech that he made. It's backed up by Nancy Pelosi's video that has now been made public. Democrats want to attack Trump on anything they can. So they're trying to go on to conviction. No one cares. They're trying to go with J6 insurrection. No one cares. They are searching for anything to make Orange Man bad stick so that they can get that leverage for the House and the Senate. Not happening. It's not. They got nothing.
We're going to be discussing it more later, but one of the things that they are trying to use is Project 2025, as that's going to be the framework for Trump setting up an authoritarian regime and doing away with the Constitution. That is their deal. They are trying to make Trump look authoritarian. And when we look over the past year or so, or actually over the past 4 years, what we are seeing is the Democrats are the ones that are pushing for an authoritarian regime. They are trying to control all social media. They have literally been caught with their hands in the cookie jar in multiple places. The Twitter files showed that, where they were literally pressuring all the social media companies not to allow conservative voices to be heard. Okay, that is stage one. Control the narrative. Control the information that's being disseminated. That is straight out of any fascist playbook. It's straight out of any communist playbook. It's straight out of any authoritarian playbook.
Well, and think about it. What did Biden say last night? if you don't, Tapper asked him directly, you said that Americans who vote for MAGA, who vote for Trump, are not supporting democracy. Biden said yes. He just called half the nation traitors to America, that they weren't American. So he graduated from saying you can't be black unless you vote Democrat. And now he's gone to the nation and said, you're not an American if you don't vote Democrat. That is authoritarian. That is insane. And that's why the mainstream media will not talk about that line. They have avoided that as hard as they can because it is blatant and obvious.
Well, they avoided any lie that Biden told last night. I mean, he brought up several things that have been debunked. The Charlottesville thing. The
thing is, and I've seen a few different reports both ways. The liberal media has been literally fact checking Trump over and over and over and over on a lot of his statements. But as I was listening to the debate and so forth, both sides were horrid on their factuality. Both sides probably had as many, if not more, misinformation that they put out. So neither side was telling the truth.
Somebody asks,
Go ahead.
Granny asks, what happens if Biden dies in office before the next debate in September? Well, the constitutional process would play out. Kamala Harris would get sworn in as president of the United States. She would nominate a vice president to take her place, and then that vice president would have to be approved by the House and Senate.
Yeah, which is almost the same thing as the 25th Amendment being activated, which I think you're going to hear a lot of that being talked about between now and the DNC convention, which is in August. You're going to hear about the next month. It's going to be a lot of conversation about 25th Amendment. Do they replace him? And then for the ticket, which is different than for the vice presidency, the ticket, if they do the 25th, the Democratic National Committee can pick anyone they want to be on the ticket with Kamala if they use the 25th Amendment. It doesn't have to be whoever they pick to be VP.
Right, so, that person can be replaced thereafter.
Right. They can put anyone they want on the ticket with Kamala. So that's the math of it. I don't think that's what the problem is going to be. It's too late.
It is too late. The only thing, like I said, I think they've given up presidency at this point. They may try to Amendment 25 Biden, get Harris in there as a Hail Mary to try to get sympathy votes and to try to raise popularity amongst blacks or people of color, not just blacks, but people of color and women. I also see that if they do that and put Harris in, that she will have another female running mate. And it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't do Clinton.
No,
it's not going to be her. The DNC wants to stay as far away from Hillary Clinton as possible right now.
It would have to be Newsom.
It would probably be Pocahontas.
No. Yeah. You're talking about Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's ancient, which she's too old, and she's too much of an embarrassment, and she doesn't have enough.
They don't have anybody else on that side that if you're going to talk women, that they could fill in, unless they want to throw in Gretchen Whitmer.
They might actually, yes, they would put in Gretchen Whitmer because she's a governor and she's known and she's younger.
Actually,
Ocasio-Cortez, I don't think is old enough yet.
Never.
She will be.
Never.
She will be by November. Her birthday's in October, and she'll be 35.
never going to pick AOC. She's a socialist. She's part of the DSA, not the Democratic Party. She's too radical. She's too stupid. She's too unliked. She's barely able to hold on to her own district. No way in hell would the DNC put AOC on that ticket. Not going to happen. And if there's anyone in the audience that can give me a reason why they would pick AOC, besides the fact that she's a Latina and she's a woman, I mean, that's what they got Kamala for. So no, there's no way in hell they would go with her.
All right. We have veered off, so I'm changing subjects. Doll, I'm actually going to address something that you asked. Yes, we are covering the Chevron ruling.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Marshall. You guys got 5 minutes.
The Supreme Court ruled today or yesterday, basically overturned the Chevron ruling. And essentially says that the courts do not have to defer to the quote unquote expertise of the so-called expert agencies when they are interpreting the legislation that is arbitrary, so to speak, i.e., whenever like the EPA decides to reinterpret legislation and try to change laws. That's basically what the Chevron ruling was with Trump, that the Supreme Court and the courts had to defer to that expert agency in determining definitions and so forth that was put forth in the legislation. That is not what our country was founded on. Okay. First off, these executive agencies like the EPA and so forth do not have the authority to legislate. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives them that authority. The only people that are allowed to legislate for the federal government is Congress. Plain and simple. And Congress likes to write these arbitrary, wide laws on environmental on any type of regulations that gives these executive agencies a lot of leeway in doing imposing regulations on people. Well, first off, these executive agencies are not voted for by the people. They're bureaucracies. Okay, so they have no accountability to the people. That's one of the reasons why they've been established, is because they are isolated. They are insulated from the people. That was never the intent. The intent of our government was always to be accountable to the people. And when we have bureaucratic agencies such as the EPA, the ATF, the FBI, NSA, CIA, et cetera, FCC, FAA, FDA, and any other 3-letter agency you want to talk about, they have no accountability to the people. They have minimal accountability to even Congress once they're established. We've seen countless CNN or C-SPAN, hearings where they talk to these guys and there is no accountability. They can outright say, yeah, I did that. What are you going to do about it? And there's nothing they can do about it. The best they can do is they can withhold some funding. And that isn't going to happen.
Well, here's the thing that I think is very interesting. a lot of people are very shocked and surprised with this, and people are going, "Oh my God!" Sotomayor, the liberals on the Supreme Court are going, "Oh my God, this is so terrible, and they're destroying our government." Let's be serious. We've seen this coming. They said this about the ATF. They said this about the EPA. We've seen them say this about the FTC. There's too much government power making laws de facto. We've seen this coming. No one should be surprised that the Supreme Court is saying, you know what? Shrink the size of the government, shrink it down, stop letting these rogue groups do whatever the hell they want, whether it's pistol braces or it's drugs and medications or regulations about whether you can have that you have to put in green energy or whatever it may be. They don't get to make those choices. They don't get to punish you, the American people, because they feel like it at any given moment. And I think that's really good news. That's what everyone should be taking away from this SCOTUS decision is it's good for us. You guys agree?
It absolutely is. Okay. This is from SCOTUS blog, what I just put up on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. And first paragraph says, in a major ruling, the Supreme Court Friday cut back sharply on the power of federal agencies to interpret the laws they administer and ruled that courts should rely on their own interpretation of ambiguous laws.
Yeah,
the decision will likely have far-reaching effects across the country, from environmental regulation to healthcare costs.
Yeah, but jump down, go to the fourth paragraph, last sentence. But in the year since, it starts off with right there. It goes, do you go too far? But yeah, there it is. Fourth paragraph, it goes, but in the years since then, these regulations, these agencies making their own laws has become one of the most important things in federal administrative law. Get that, administrative law, not Congress, but these agencies, cited by the federal courts more than 18,000 times. Think about that. That's 18,000 laws, not created by Congress, not by anyone you voted for, not anyone that you're paying for it all with your taxes, but these aren't people who will respond to you. You will never know their names. 18,000 times they've made the equivalent of law to punish you. That's why this thing's been reviewed. That's why they got rid of it after 40 years. That line right there.
That is literally the Chevron doctrine is what has kept the administrative state in place. Okay. In 84, when it was first ruled, it upheld a Reagan era EPA interpretation that the Clean Air Act could ease regulation of emissions. Okay, and conservatives held that as a win. Well, they've been doing it since then. They've been literally abusing it, and the courts have been having to defer to these administrative agencies whenever a case comes before them. Okay, and they have to defer to their interpretation of whatever the law is. No, that's not it. Okay, if the law is ambiguous, it needs to go back to Congress and be defined better. Plain and simple.
That's what's supposed to happen, but they don't care about what's supposed to happen. This is how you lose control. This is how America's slipping into becoming more and more authoritative. Just like Joe Biden said, this is another way to do it. Oh, they can't pass it in Congress. Oh, we'll just give it to a department that no one's going to pay attention to. So when, CNN says,
or I'll make an executive order.
Huh? Yeah, it's executive order. It's the ATF doing it. Oh, no one's paying attention to that. Oops. And now it's a new law. It's crazy.
And that's not the way our government's supposed to. Laws, our country was founded on that all laws, when they are being discussed and proposed, we're supposed to have healthy, rigorous debate. Okay? when they go through administrative agencies and these administrative agencies just arbitrarily decide it's going to be this way, we don't have that opportunity. That's why Congress is the legislative body, not the executive branch, not these administrative agencies. Those powers were not granted under the Constitution. They were granted to Congress, period.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's crazy, but we've gotten so. And that thing is, we got used to it, which is what Sotomayor was talking about. That's what they've been. That's what the liberals are saying. Well, you're used to it. It's the same argument you hear from Biden when he says, "Well, we had abortion for 51 years."
Yeah, the same argument that they are using for Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, but it's the same argument that you could have made at one point for slavery. Oh, we've had slavery for 100 years. Why should we get rid of slavery? It's already been here.
Dred Scott decision.
Yeah, it's a stupid argument to say, oh, we've been doing this for
slaughterhouse cases.
And when you tell them that the AR-15 has been around since 1956,
yeah,
you lose your shit.
You know, it's amazing the way they try and excuse it. And you're not supposed to stop and think about it. You're just supposed to go, okay, yeah, it's been here for 4 decades. I guess it must be good. That's a stupid argument. That's the worst argument. It's a dumb argument.
And that was literally the liberal side, the 3 justices that decided to sit on this decision. That was their whole basis for their dissent. Is this how we've done it?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And yeah, Dennis, problem is they've lost control of the narrative. The Democrats lost not just even the Democrats, the establishment, which includes some Republicans, but mostly the Democrats and progressives, but there's some Republicans in there. They have been so busy trying to micromanage people's lives and create more and more power that they don't even know all the departments what they're all doing. They're all doing their own damn thing. It's crazy. Who's Gen X? By the way, hello, Dennis. Haven't seen you before. Hello, Dal, friend of the channel. Mike Bowie, friend of the channel. John, our friend of the channel. Grace is with us. Gotta love you. Peter's with us. Thank God. Gen X, you're new to see the channel. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Same thing, Dennis Payne. Go ahead.
And I actually agree with Gen X Prepper on this comment. These agencies have gotten too comfortable, and people are lazy. Okay, plain and simple. I think it's going to take a lot to get rid of the administrative state. And again, we're going to get into that a lot more later when we do our discussion about Project 2025. So stay tuned for that, okay? Because there's a lot going on with that. But this Chevron ruling, I think, is probably one of the better rulings to come out of the courts in some time, honestly.
Well, it finally answers the question, who's in charge of the government? We are. Congress is. It's finally, it is one of the small steps to shrink our government, which means shrinking the amount of inflation that we have, the amount of debt that we have, that we're wasting money on. It stops taking away people's rights and freedoms. It's the first step towards that. And that's a good thing.
Well, and here's the other problem with Chevron doctrine. Okay, is you never know when the rules are going to change and when they are going to be, how they are going to be applied when you go from one administration to the other. Okay, and we've seen that with this administration compared to the Trump administration, where we've got the EPA. Under one administration, they're enforcing laws this way. Next administration, all of a sudden, it's a complete flip. And we can't have that. Okay. We need laws that are clear and concise that anybody can understand. When we don't have that, how can people comply with them?
Yep.
All right, so beings are already here. We do have two subjects left tonight. Hopefully, we'll leave a little time for something at the end if that I'm sure you guys would want to throw in there. But we're going to go ahead because of the subject being on the Chevron and the government and overreach and everything else. Let's go ahead and go into Agenda 2025, and we've got 45 minutes.
Okay, this is actually, it's not Agenda 2025, it's Project 2025. And if you listen to the left, you listen to the progressives, it is one of the worst things that could possibly happen. Okay, this is a PDF pamphlet that's being shared out by a lot of people, or by the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism. Project 25, The Road to Authoritarianism, a primer. And basically what they are trying to claim is that Project 2025 is Trump's means of basically establishing himself as an authoritarian dictator over the United States. Okay, Mr. Biden has weighed in on this as well, because on his election camp site, he has also raised the alarm about Project 2025. And here, Trump allies 920-page plan to give Trump more power over your daily life, gut democratic checks and balances, and consolidate power in the Oval Office. Okay, and here's what they are claiming that Project 2025 does. Takes away reproductive freedom nationwide. Uses the presidency for revenge on Trump's political and personal enemies. Terminates the Constitution. Consolidates power in the Oval Office. Guts democratic checks and balances on presidential power. Gives handouts to ultra-wealthy paid for by working families. And much, much, much more.
I guess they haven't really read it then, have they? Because it's not what it does.
Okay, it's not. It's not at all what it does. Okay, and every administration, the Republicans have their team, okay, which is generally headed by the Heritage Foundation, and the Democrats have their team that do these agenda plans, these projects, plans. That's so when they get into office, they can hit the ground running. These are made up of experts on both sides, and they determine what the policy, what's going to be done in the first 100 days.
180. It's first 180 days.
180 days, whatever it is. Okay, basically the first 6 months that they are in office. Biden had his transition team when he was elected into office, and we saw him working that plan. Okay, and he's still working that plan. Trump had it last time when he was elected in 2016. Okay. Obama had it for both of his. Okay. These are policies that the people that are backing these presidents are wanting. Okay. So that being said, Project 2025 is literally a policy agenda that is put forth by conservatives as to what we believe is needed for the United States moving forward. Okay. And if they get a conservative leaning government. And in here, okay, number one, it says taking the reins. Section 1 is about taking the reins of government. Okay, the White House office, the executive office of the President of the United States, the central personnel agencies managing bureaucracy. And it goes in here. And folks, this is all available for everybody to look into and read.
Okay, wait a minute. So we've got someone, a new person speaking, and it's A Golf. Really? A Golf? Not a real name. And obviously it looks like a fake account based on the little what the what do you call that? What do you call that in figurine?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. Avatar, that's it, based on the avatar. And they're trying, what they want to say is that project, and this is what we hear from the Biden administration, it's all fake. This is going to be dictatorship. Fear mongering. First things first, get rid of your fear mongering. No one should be listening to this with fear. Let's actually understand what it is. Don't care about the parroting from CNN. I don't care what you've heard about from some headline on Twitter. What does it actually say? Because I guarantee you, people won't know. Agolf goes, it's fake news. You don't even know what it is. You haven't even heard us talk about it yet. See, and that's what we need to do, folks. We need to have conversations, not parroting, not outright denial. Hear Mike out. Let's find out what this thing does, because I think you'd be very surprised. Most Americans would agree with many of the things that you're hearing that the Biden administration has put on their campaign page, saying, "Oh my God, it's so terrible that Project 2025 is going to do exactly what the mainstream American people are asking government to do." So please, Agolf, stop with the fake news. Actually listen, and then make your mind. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Before you go on, John said he attempted to call in, Frank.
That's probably the call you got, Frank.
Well, sorry, John. Had a little problem with the phone over there. I couldn't get it connected to my audio. That's why I was over here distracted.
No problem.
Okay, Agolf, you keep saying that it removes checks and balances for the POTUS and is a path to dictatorship. Where's your proof of this?
What does that even mean? What does that mean?
Okay, prove it to me. Cite where in Project 2025 where it says checks and balances are going to be removed. Give me a page number. Give me.
Oh, I love his answer.
No,
here's his answer. I love this. Public's got to see this. His answer: the text. What is that supposed to mean? That's such a cop out. The text.
Okay, give me a specific phrase that says that. Okay, because when my reading of it, I don't see that anywhere. Okay, in fact, it puts the power back in the hands of the people by removing the administrative state.
No, that just tells you that this is what fake accounts do. This is what trolls do. Oh, it's the text. It's got to be bad because that's the headline the DNC pushed on Twitter, but they don't even know what they're arguing about.
It allows firing of State Department officials for political ends.
That's a bullet point. No. Again,
they are always fired. If they aren't each side fires them. Biden fired them. Obama fired people. Clinton fired State Department officials.
That happens in every election. In other words, Agolf. And let's get it right, Agolf. What you're doing is you're reading off Twitter headlines. You haven't actually mentioned anything about the policy itself. So don't tell us, oh, but you didn't read it. You haven't quoted anything. See, I hate when people do that, when they come out and they're like, oh my God, here's a quote from Twitter. It means nothing. It means nothing. I'll give you a great example, Mike. You know what? What are some things that 2025 is going to do? reinstate the ban of some Middle East countries created by the Obama administration to protect America, because we have 8 ISIS members running around because they weren't properly vetted, because 169 terrorists tried to enter into the United States in 2023. This is according to the Customs Border Patrol. This is what the government has identified. And we know this. It was just in the news last week about the 8 ISIS members that are running around in America for the last year because they weren't properly vetted. So you mean to tell me that something that the public wants, closing the border, restricting people from questionable countries that have promised to threaten and kill us, yeah, that's a bad thing? I don't think so. Oh, it's going to make sure that we have armed SRO officers in our schools. This is what Biden says is a bad thing, to protect kids, because the officers in Uvalde did such a great job protecting our kids. Gee, maybe it's time we should do something different. Maybe just like in Florida, where we had their own review say that we need armed officers in our schools, and depending on the size of the school, more than one. Yeah, this is what Project 2025 is doing, and this is what the Democrats are upset about. So, Agolf, when you try and tell me, oh my God, here's a Twitter sentence, I don't care.
Well, okay, let's get Agolf right on the right page. Checks and balances doesn't happen from administrative agencies. Administrative agencies aren't the check and balances. Check and balances are between the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the courts. Period. The judiciary. Okay, that's where check and balances are supposed to be. That is exactly where they are. They aren't in the administrative agencies. In fact, if anything, the administrative agencies have 0 checks and balances because they are executive branch agencies. Okay, that is why there is no check. First off, Agolf, you need to take and read the Constitution. Okay, and then second off, be sure what you're talking about. Okay, because this restores checks and balances more efficiently back to the people and to our government. Administrative agencies were never a check and balance. And people claiming that they were don't know what the hell they're talking about.
No, again,
I got a question for you guys. Just pause
ahead,
for a second. John seems like he really has something to say. Should we invite him on the show?
I'm working on that right now.
yeah, okay.
We can actually, if he wants to get on here live with us, he's more than welcome to. We'll send him an invite. We just need to know how.
I know how to. I can send them the link.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt
You're
you. Just,
welcome to
he
join
really
us.
seems like he's got something to say, and we want our
Yeah, he
voices.
probably does. He's been losing his mind recently. I know why. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I thought it was a problem with my soundboard. I actually can't pick up his phone call. Every time I pick up the phone call, the line goes dead.
So why don't you go ahead and send him a link there, Michael, if you would, and
Yeah,
be more than happy. Okay, and actually, Agolf, you give us a way to send you an invite. We'd be happy to let you join too.
you know what? If Agol could say anything besides what Twitter has already said, maybe. But
Well, the challenge is out there.
well, yeah, the challenge is out there. I mean,
If
yes,
you
fair
if
enough.
you can hold your own in a debate without parroting somebody else, and you can come up with original thought, original reason, and original logic to substantiate the claim that you're trying to make, you're more than welcome to join the show. And that goes to anybody. You know, we have an open door policy here. It's also a revolving door, because if you come in here spouting nonsense, we're going to throw you the hell out of here as soon as you walk in the door after we dismantle your argument.
Well, since while we're waiting to see if John's going to come on, what I've been reading and then what I've been seeing from MSN, nobody has sat down and read this, because holding the government accountable is pretty much all the American people have been asking for decades. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all we've ever wanted. We don't want government in our lives. And every time you turn around, government is making a new entity to tell you how to run your life and how to live your life.
And here's the thing. Okay. Their claims, both this Gaffey and Biden claims that Project 2025 will dismantle the Constitution. Everything I've read in it says the exact opposite. It is restoring the Constitution because it is starting to limit the administrative state. This country was not founded on an administrative state. This country was founded on 3 branches of government that each had its very specific roles.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. It's not destroying government. It's destroying the micromanagement and the expansion of government that we've been seeing from Democrats and progressives over the last several decades. But before we go any further, the J-Rest break is here with us. He was trying to call in earlier.
John.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was watching the show, and for those who don't know, I sometimes guest on Mike's channel. I run Mike's channel for 1 Minute Politics and things. And when you start talking about Project 2025, I had to tune in, as I've worked for one of the organizations on the advisory board, and I've worked with almost all the organizations on the advisory board. And I wanted to cover something that hasn't really been talked about and why I think it's so important for this plan. Right? So the main basis is getting in a lot of good people to take these jobs that have been by far left out, right? Put in through Obama, Joe Biden, and different things. A lot of these organizations have already set up conservative job programs to get them hired for political positions. They actually run a lot of different conservative job websites and different things. So when this advisory board came together, it pretty much came together with what Trump needs in order to fill these positions well with the proper people. So I wanted to bring that up because I don't think it's being talked about a lot, because not only is the policy solid, it's also getting in the right people who are of the conservative mindset and who actually follow through with what our country is doing. And when they assembled the advisory board, they did it in a very particular way with a lot of organizations that not only are doing activism, but also are helping conservatives find different jobs and things like that. And a lot of these,
that's very true. Okay, and right here, okay, on Project 2025 website, it talks about it is a broad coalition of over 100 conservative organizations. Okay, it's organized by the Heritage Foundation, but it goes well beyond the Heritage Foundation. And it asks you to get involved. Okay, it's 1792 Exchange, American Accountability Foundation, the AAP Log, the Alabama Policy Institute, Alliance Defending Freedom, ACLJ. Okay, that's just A's, and it goes on and on of all these organizations. A lot of them people have heard of. Okay, Hillsdale College, the Independent Women's Forum.
Oh, there's a ton of companies on there that people have heard of before.
Okay, National Association of Scholars.
And a lot of these are doing
policy and
research
research.
trainings. Yeah, and they have political trainings, and they keep databases of the activists and the people that they think are standouts. So by assembling this group of people, they're literally getting the best who have trained with these people and who are going to help Trump achieve his agenda properly this time without blocking it every step of the way. And I think that's why the left is freaking out so much, it's because they know this plan is well thought out, it's well put together, and they have to make it seem like doomsday if they want to stop Trump.
Well, that's it exactly. Okay, and they want to try to make us believe that it is a dismantlement of the Constitution. But like I said, every place I've read in this, it seems like it's doing more to restore the Constitution back to its founders' intent than it is destroying it. Okay, they're talking about taking steps to remove power from the administrative state, and that's what needs to be done, because the only way we can restore power back to the people is to take it away from the administrative state.
They
That's
want to
the
drain
only
the swamp. They want to drain the swamp. This is a plan and a process to do that. And the only way that they can address this is to demonize it. That's what's going on, which is why you see all the Twitter headlines saying it's so terrible without actually saying specifically why it's bad. And if you actually look at the things that they're looking to target, these are the things that are on the top 10 list. Poll after poll after poll, survey after survey have said these are the things that the American people overwhelmingly are asking, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or Republican or Libertarian or conservative, that this is what America is asking for, like closing our borders, like enforcing immigration laws, like protecting our kids in schools from mass shooters, not just making another law that says that law-abiding citizens can't have a gun that criminals don't care about, that the deranged don't care about, but actually protecting kids. See, and that's draining the swamp. That's why I think they're so pissed about this. But I mean, Frank, Jen, tell me, what do you guys think?
Well, I was going to have pull up the four, because they have four main points that they're focusing on, and then once you get down into reading, they break all those points up. Pull up the four main points of this agenda.
Okay.
Because I think that's important for people to understand, that when the Democrats and MSN are talking about, oh, dictatorship and this and that, I mean, I think it's important that the people see what are the main points.
Well, these are empty statements. I know you're going to pull it up in a second there, Mike. These are empty statements. It's just, it's like saying Orange Man bad. It's like saying that, oh my God, we have 15% unemployment in 2020. Yeah, it's called lockdowns. So
Right.
yes, the world was locked down. The world stopped. Every country in the world had their GDP get screwed up. Every country in the world had unemployment skyrocket because everyone stopped working. So it's the content, it's the things they're not putting in. Oh, crime is down versus 2020 when we had the BLM riots going on and they were autonomous zones in 22 cities across America. But crime is up versus 2013 to 2019. Oh, they leave that out. They leave out things like from the peak. Inflation is down from the peak. It's not, it's up since 2019. It's up since 2021, but it's down from the peak. So it's the same kind of logic that we hear about Project 2025. But go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the four pillars that this is based upon. Okay, let me get back in here. Okay, so this volume puts in one place a consensus view of how major federal agencies must be governed and where disagreement exists, brackets out those differences for the next president to choose a path. Pillar 2 is a personal database that allows candidates to build their own professional profiles and our coalition members to review and voice their recommendations. These recommendations will then be collated and shared with the president-elect's team, greatly streamlining the appointment process. Pillar 3 is the Presidential Administration Academy, an online education system taught by experts from our coalition. For the newcomer, this will explain how the government functions and how to function in the government. For the experienced, they will host in-person seminars with advanced training and set the bar for what is expected of senior leadership. And Pillar 4 is the playbook. They're forming agency teams and drafting transition plans to move out upon President's utterance of "So help me God."
Yeah. And they say that this is too religious. John, tell me, you know people who are involved with that and putting this together. Is this some kind of, I don't know, Christian revival, or is this about government and following the Constitution? You tell me.
So, the organization that I work with, I left that organization, went to a different conservative organization that isn't signed on. I didn't exactly see the planning or anything like that. But from going over it, it has nothing to really do with religion. It has to do with filling administrative roles that need to be filled. And another reason the left is terrified is because a lot of these organizations and a lot of the people that are going to fill it are young conservative activists. It's exactly what the left was doing for years and years and years, filling with young liberal progressives, right? And this is doing the exact same thing with a core conservative audience they have. So it has nothing to do really with religion. It really doesn't. It has to do with filling these positions properly.
Does that mean that they're afraid that there could be a conservative version of Lois Lerner in the IRS to replace Lois Lerner? Is that what they're afraid of? That we're going to balance out the IRS or the FBI, that we'll have an equivalent to Ray that's a little more conservative? Is that what they're terrified of?
I would assume so, because a lot of these organizations have the contact to college students that are in the college conservative programs. You go out there, you saw Turning Point USA, you saw Hill College. These are young professionals coming out of college with those conservative ideals intact.
So, Jen, does that match what you guys have thought about it? Sorry, Mike. I just want to see what they think too.
Yeah.
Jan, Frank.
Question.
Well, the question is this matching what you guys? I know you were looking into it a little bit for today's show. What do you guys think about it? Is that right?
Well, yeah, they can't have us interrupting their plan. I mean, that's all it is. The Democrats have wanted their control, their rules, their laws, and it's typical. If you don't agree with it, you're wrong. You should be silent. You should play along. So God forbid if we want the same rights and we want to come up and say, hey, we want our people in there. Now, I don't think we should be making laws and doing stuff the way that they're doing. We have Congress is for that. We have 3 branches of government for a reason. But if this is what helps us get back to the Constitution, I'm 100% for it.
Okay, and this is what they are trying to do. Okay, number 1, restore the family as a centerpiece of American life and protect our children. 2, dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. 3, defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. 4, secure our God-given individual rights to live freely where our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty.
No, look at that list for a second before you go anywhere, Mike. Restore the family. Well, BLM said they want to get rid of the family unit. So does the Democratic Socialists of America. That's their purpose, was to get rid of the core family unit.
That's been the Democrats' playbook since Johnson.
Well, I'm just going by what's most recent, that people, even the young people in the audience, will remember. BLM 2020, they told you that. We've seen the DSA say that since 2016. Dismantle administrative state and government. Oh, shrink the size of the government. Democrats always talk about expanding government. So there's their problem. Defend the nation's sovereignty. In other words, close the border. Oh my God. All of the progressives, all of the socialists, go to any of the colleges, Harvard, you go over to Cornell University, UCLA. They're talking about open borders, open, open, open. That's not what the American public want. Fourth one, secure our God-given rights. Well, yeah, because all of our rights are from birth. We are a Judeo-Christian nation. There's nothing wrong with supporting that or liberty. Do you notice these are all things that the left hate? Not that they're bad, not that they're unconstitutional, not that they're authoritarian. They just don't like them. That's the problem. Frank,
Well,
do you
where-
see? Go ahead.
Where in these 4 pillars does it say we're giving the president a dictatorship?
I don't see it anywhere in there.
It's not there. It's not there. Oh, or are we missing something, Frank?
No, you're not missing anything. It's just that it's heartbreaking.
Why?
When I think that we're living in a country that was based on the Constitution, we have gone so far off the rails that we now have to have 100 plus conservative groups try and put a coalition together to get us to go back to the way things used to be. That we've let the citizenry of this country have allowed ourselves to no longer be our own ruling party, but to be ruled by an administrative class that isn't even voted for. That we've allowed all of these different department heads to run amok and have no accountability. And it just, if you raise a kid right, you don't have to discipline them that much. It's the ones that are always screwing up that you got to keep putting all that extra work into and disciplining and correcting and putting back on track and everything, where if you did it right the first time, that's energy you wouldn't have had to spend. Well, people in our country, we drop the ball. Whether it's our generation, the generation before us, we let it get this bad. And it was never the intention of the great experiment of freedom for a country to get to the point where 3% of us fought a revolution over a 2% tax on a really weak breakfast beverage. And now we've gotten to the point where we have to infiltrate our own government with conservative people so that they could counterbalance the people that are in there that are standing for communism and totalitarianism. We have to basically be our own spies, and this is a counter network of spies to try and regain power that we never gave away. We never gave away this power, but we let it be taken. And that's why it's heartbreaking to me. It's heartbreaking that so much time and energy has to be spent doing this. It's like when they try to take away one of our rights that we are born with. And then we are on the defensive. We've got to raise millions of dollars. We've got to spend thousands of hours. We've got to go to court. We've got to do all this stuff. And then they use our tax money to fight us, to keep from us what they didn't have a right to take. And we have to spend more money to get it back. And half the time we're not successful. It's just, it hurts. And like the woman asked Dr. Franklin, have you given us a dictatorship or a monarchy? He said, well, we've given you a republic if you can keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We failed. And as Americans, we failed at keeping it.
And that's exactly it, okay? Because any of your politicians today don't call us a republic anymore. They call us a democracy. And that's the last thing that our founders wanted. They abhorred democracy. Okay, because they knew that democracy would literally trample on individual rights, because democracy literally means rule of majority.
Well, Trump is a threat to democracy. Good. I hope so. I want to be a threat to democracy because democracy sucks. Democracy is two wolves and a sheep debating over what to have for dinner. That's what democracy is.
And actually, any of you LGBTQIA blase alphabet soup people out there, if you want a democracy, great. Guess what? You're a minority.
Yeah, that doesn't work out so well, huh?
Well, when you constantly see the minority fighting the minority now, I just sit back and laugh because you wanted it, you got it. If you think that sitting there being told my feelings are more important than yours, my this is more important than yours. Well, when the other person walks up and says, well, my feelings are more important, you're going to clash. So
Well, that's when we have to.
I sit back and laugh at it.
Well, that's how we get to the point where everybody has got to put their list of victim credentials together, and whoever has got the most amount of boxes checked gets priority over everybody who's got least amount of boxes checked.
And that's not democracy.
Well, no. But let's ask. We've got a young person who's on with us, relatively young, younger than me anyway. I'm one of the old men of the panel here. Let's go to John. John, let me ask you. Were they putting together a list of victimhood as they decided about this? Did they write down, oh, here's all of our feelings and this is what we have to focus on? Or did someone pull out a copy of the Constitution and say, hey, by the way, this is our guide? Which one was it? Was it their feelings or the Constitution that guided them on this?
Again, I wasn't there for the writing of this. Yeah, I wasn't there for the writing of this. But look at those advocacy groups again. How many of them are constitutionally based organizations that are trained to teach the actual Constitution, what it says, and what it actually means? There are a lot of liberty-based organizations on that list, right? So if you were to, let's say, the whole point of this program, and I gotta disagree a little bit with Frank being like, this is very sad. It is sad how we got here, but we're gonna fix it. That's the benefit of this. We have a plan to actually go in with people who understand our Constitution properly. They are taught the Constitution. They're taught that we're a republic, right? And go in and make sure they have those ideals before they go in with all these different trainings and things, and take over those positions so we can get back to the government that we should be. So if you go through those lists, how many of them focus on the Constitution, focus on liberty, right? And whose foundations are those core American tenets?
Well, I think what John, not to interrupt you, but I think what a lot of people probably on the left are not only fearful of seeing their ideological beliefs getting challenged, but they're going to see the mechanisms with which those beliefs are instituted being replaced. And what I think they're equating this movement to is something Caesarian, wherein you say, well, when Rome was at the height of its corruption, just before, when it was having all the problems, it was Caesar who came in and disbanded the Senate. He got rid of the government, declared himself emperor, and then he tried to rule over everything with a fairness and everything until he could adopt a more 2,000 years ago, a more perfect union for them. What I think they're saying in this is Caesarian in the regard of saying, well, you're going to take all of our influence that's in all of these groups, replace it with people of a conservative bent who are loyal to a certain president of all presidents at the time will be Donald J. Trump, with God willing. They're seeing a situation where they probably believe that loyalty is going to transfer into an acquiescence of power that'll not be given up at any given time, and that's going to usher in a conservative dictatorship, which of course will be called fascism, which will be called Hitler-esque, which will be called everything else. So in their mind, they might be saying, my God, they read rules for radicals. They've been able to figure out what our playbook is and are now using the same thing against us. So they're going to beat us to the dictatorship before we get there. What are we going to do?
See, Frank, that's the key. They're assuming that we're going to do what they would do. They're assuming that if they put together their agenda, and they have been, they're assuming that we would do with the power what they have been doing with the power.
It's transference. Everything that you're guilty of, you blame on your opponent. That's transference. That's what they're going to do with this whole thing. But that's probably the root of most of it, is that they're saying, my God, this playbook looks exactly like ours. We got to stop this. So naturally, instead of going and discussing, well, is the family unit better than, 6 baby daddies? Having structural family, is that better? Having children, being able to read in script so they understand the Constitution, is that better than eliminating cursive writing?
Yes.
Is having merit-based pay better than having the same outcome for everybody? Is that better?
Yes.
And they don't want to have that discussion. So what they want to do is just replace that with the, oh my God, we're about to have Benito Mussolini in the White House, except he's got a full head of hair and he's orange.
Well, yeah, they have to demonize us so that they can live with the illusion that their idea is working, because their ideas always work forever. It's just a matter of how much money and how much time you give them, and their thing will eventually always work, except it never eventually works. It never works.
We didn't give it enough time, money to do it right.
Right. Think about, as an example, they went to California. There was everyone was talking about $15 minimum wage. And then California said, no, we can do it better than that. We're going to go $20 an hour for a minimum wage. That only 3%.
Now they want 30.
No, well, but they went with 20. And that's only about 3% of the population actually get minimum wage. And they were warned, if you do this, you will get more people unemployed, you will close more businesses, and everything will be more expensive. They were told by the Congressional Budget Office. They were told by the economists. They said, no, you don't understand. We have a feeling. They did it. What was announced last week with Gavin Newsom, Mr. I want to run for president, I should replace Joe Biden. What did Gavin Newsom find out? 10,000 restaurants closed in California, and they're still closing to this day. 10,000 people were put out of work. Businesses closed left to right. Well, now the state lost revenue. Taxes are going to have to go up because of it. More people are unemployed. They're getting more benefits from the government because they don't have a job anymore and they need to still feed their family. They destroyed their economy. They hurt their people because they had a feeling. That's why they're afraid of 2025. Because once you stop feeding that feeling, you have to deal with the consequences. And the consequences aren't going to be the rainbow or a unicorn. It's going to be problems. It's going to be bad. That's what I think about it. I mean, you guys can tell me, Mike, I think you're wrong, but I think that's the evidence that we see.
Well, it is. Okay. And as you pointed out, Democrats tend to want larger and larger government. They want a bureaucracy. They want things set up.
Sorry, I got thrown off because James Lucid, and people may not have been seeing it's in the comments, but James Lucid just gave us a $20 super chat. Thank you, James. We really appreciate that. And James Lucid says, and to put it in proper consequence, let me put it in good order. James was talking about worrying about the gender studies versus what's happening in Fukushima. He's very much trying to make people aware about the Fukushima power plant, the nuclear meltdown that happened there a few years ago. And he's been I know him. We've talked on my channel about this a lot. And he wanted to tell us that people aren't aware that, as he brings up to us, for 13 years now, this has been one of the major events in the world, that Fukushima power plant failure that's been affecting oceans. I know I've talked to James before about this. So to put that in context, he then gave us the $20 super chat saying the consequences of what's going on in Fukushima and those meltdowns that have been going on for 13 years is really having a major impact on all of us. And you know what, James, at the very least, this should be something at least some of our government, at least some of our news media should be talking about. But that kind of goes with what we've been talking about. They're just blowing past all this stuff. And you don't see this from the New York Times. You don't hear this on CNN, MSNBC. I mean, what are we, 5 people? ABC has 10,000 employees. They make over $10 million a year. Easy. That's just one news station. You think they could afford to put 5 people on this story? Of course they should. So, I don't know enough about it. I agree with you, James. I don't. But to be fair, we're limited in our resources. We try and cover a lot of things. But you're right. It is important. It is something that, especially if anyone who believes in the environment, they should be aware of it. And I guarantee you none of them are.
No.
But that was my thoughts on that, on his super chat.
I'm putting it on the list.
All right, a couple of my thoughts on the whole Fukushima thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, number one, it's kind of it's a NIMBY thing. Right now it's something that's not in my backyard, so it's not on my radar. And I'm not saying me. I'm saying the media in itself. We've got when you've got a situation right now, what's going on with our American electoral system, and what's happened over the last 8 years. Okay, ever since the man came down the escalator, we have been in the upside down as far as our political system is going. And I think that the sense of division that has crept across the United States over the last 8 years has become so front and center that we can't even have women's basketball games being played without there being some sort of, horrific distraction being taken place on there. I don't think Americans right now can really digest anything that is outside of our borders that's not taxpayer funded. I'll put it that way. Plenty of Americans have opinions on what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, have opinions of what's going on between Israel and the Palestinians. And that's it. That's where Americans' opinions are pretty much stopping right now, because that's where we see our tax dollars going when everybody's hurting. Now we've got what's going on in Japan. You're talking about a really touchy subject right there, because Japan is an ally.
It's huge ally.
All right, it's a huge ally. Japan is not only an ally strategically, but as far as our trade relations go, we've got so much trade. It's one of our major trading partners, not only for the United States, but for Canada, Mexico, and the rest of the world. Japan is an economic powerhouse. It's almost like hands off. It's like the uncle with a drinking problem at the barbecue. Everybody knows he's there, but nobody's going to address him. They don't want to talk about it right now because it's not a convenient time. It's not a convenient time, and he's drinking more, and now he's wrecked everybody's car at that time, but still nobody's going to say anything. We can live with the damage. I don't think until we get to a place where it's something that can be moved up to the front burner that you're going to start seeing a lot of it. Now, it would probably behoove a conservative government to get a little bit more in front of environmental issues, but with actual solutions. Instead of hyperbole and pie in the sky and, wind farms in the desert and, wave technology to generate electricity and windmills to kill the birds. If conservatives come up with some tried and true technology to show that we're actually interested in, well, not to show, but to demonstrate publicly that we're interested in the environment, you're not going to see a lot of people really discussing what's going on there. I mean, we still have fallout from Chernobyl that we are dealing with. There's still huge swaths of that country that are no-go zones that, you know, they're toxically, polluted
Well,
with
we still have
radioactive.
3 Mile Island as well.
Well, 3 Mile Island at least was never breached.
Right.
It was never
But we
breached.
still
So
have repercussions from it.
right, still repercussions. And the biggest repercussion for 3 Mile Island was the black eye that it gave the nuclear power
Yes.
industry. We never recovered from that. We should have been able to recover from that because 3 Mile Island actually did one thing. Yes, there was a problem at 3 Mile Island, but it showed how well prepared we were for it.
Well, it failed
The reactor
gracefully.
didn't collapse. It didn't explode. We didn't have a leak like we did at Fukushima, like we did it at Chernobyl, at any of the other sites. It was a success story in the fact that it failed properly. You know,
Well,
it was like,
failed
well, how do
gracefully. That's
Right,
right.
but it's
bad
the
for
movie but it created the movie
right.
that
And
destroyed the industry.
Right. And Chevy Chase walking out on Saturday Night Live with an extra head on his shoulder. You know, it was comedy skits. It was all the rest of that stuff. It's the poison Tylenols. Everybody remembers why do we have 14 safety caps on medicines now? Because of the poison Tylenols. Well, newsflash, there was no such thing as poison Tylenols. It was one case where somebody was trying to make a hoo-ha over something that never happened, but it got into the pop culture. It got into the veins. It's in the mainstream. That's how it happened.
Before your
But-
time, John. Go ahead.
Yeah. But there's things that show up in the vernacular that don't because they're they're popularized correctly and by people that should not be the ones doing the popularizing.
Right.
You know, you have people that have an agenda, so they make this the story, whether it's true or false or otherwise. It's better that it's false because then they can embellish on it even more, and there's no way you can fact check it. But as far as us being able to cover what's going on in Japan, I can't afford a ticket right now to get over there. None of us. So we have to rely on what sources are available to us and then try to encourage others to do the same. But we need people on the ground who are going to report honestly on what's happening in order for us to be able to bring that to you guys because the mainstream isn't going to.
And that's the thing. Okay, if we had actual journalists and not propagandists, then maybe a lot of this news would come out and we'd actually be able to make educated decisions as to what's going on. But instead, now pretty much all of it is propagandism.
Yeah. What do you think, John? You're the youngest person. Is there anyone in your age group that even knows where Fukushima is, let alone know that there was a nuclear power plant?
I'll tell you this: no. Well, I don't know. I'm in my early 20s. No, I went through a college class where only 2 people knew what the Whiskey Rebellion was. Right, a college course. So I imagine no, they don't know. And I think part of the problem is that media is so focused on reporting what's coming from culture, like pop culture and different things. Quote Andrew Breitbart: "Politics comes downstream from culture." And Fukushima is not currently in our culture, so they're not going to report on it. That's not. They don't see it. It's all about getting views. It's all about doing what the far left propaganda machine wants to put out. I'm sure if Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, or someone like that was involved with the incident, it would be covered for years upon years. Or if one of the big far left environmental groups wants to pick it up.
You want to know the weirdest thing about it? I'm actually surprised that the left hasn't really embraced Fukushima more.
You would think they would.
Because if you look at how it happened, my God, it's the trifecta. It's the trifecta.
Well, they hate nuclear power anyway, so you would think they'd be doing movies about it.
An earthquake caused a tsunami, which crashed into a nuclear power plant, which caused it to fail, which made the reactor burst. You're talking everything there, environmental issues. You're talking greenhouse gases that caused earthquakes because of fracking and all the rest of this stuff. I mean, it's every single thing, every talking point that they could possibly roll into one event, all happened at Fukushima all at the same time. Seriously.
Yeah, it would make a great disaster movie.
Man-made activity caused the earthquake. Global warming contributed to the rising of the seas, which contributed to the height of the waves of the tsunami, which crashed into the reactor plant, which we don't like anyway, and it caused because we're unsafe, and that's what happened. They should have embraced the living hell out of that thing. But I guess, I don't know, I guess maybe some of the facts got in the way.
Well, yeah, it wasn't exactly correct. And I know James is far more familiar with it. But again, if they wanted to have the discussion, and here's the thing, it's not, I'm not going to fault you for not knowing every single detail at the top. Again, it's not something that's been topical in America. Most of us aren't following it. But the left, if they truly believed in their environmental mania, then why didn't they make a movie about it to tell us about this? Why haven't they done the documentaries on it? Why don't we have half a dozen of these leftists in Hollywood who are more than happy to tell us about DEI and all the rest of their feelings? Why are they lined up telling us about why green energy is so great and Fukushima is the example of why it's all wrong? There's something fundamentally involved there that makes me believe, because now that you brought it up, Frank, it makes me think something else is happening. Otherwise, they would be doing that. And that means that they're very dishonest. The whole green
guys,
is dishonest.
Wrap this up. We got one more subject.
Okay.
I want to go, because this is kind of related on energy and how that they're pushing for. In the 1950s, there was a huge wind project. And that at that time, the United States had the most wind generation manufacturers in its history. And every one of them went out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them, because they're not viable.
Yeah. Same thing's going to happen with solar, as it has happened with solar.
Well, yeah, it's already starting.
Yeah. Because you got to replace all the solar every 25 years, which means every 7 years. The cars don't work. We just spent $30 billion. Biden spent $30 billion. And in 3 years, he built 7 charging stations. 7. It's ridiculous. So there's so much about this. There really is. And I'm glad that, James, by the way, anyone watching can always bring up issues. And of course, there's also, I know my channel has the super chat. You're always welcome to use that, folks, to, if there's something we're not talking about, get our attention. You don't have to do $20 like James did, but thank God he did. Love that.
Yes.
Helps pay a bill. But, even if it's just $5, $2, whatever it is, it helps us. So I really appreciate that.
All right.
Go ahead, Jan.
Last subject of the night, we wanted to talk about how the Surgeon General has said that guns are now our new health crisis.
Gun violence.
Yeah, this is mine. It's a funny one. Well, I think it's not funny. Ha ha. It's funny. This is so stupid. It can't be believed.
Yeah.
So forget about the commercial. All right. Of course, it goes to the commercial when I'm trying to show it. But right here, you'll see it says, the Surgeon General declares gun violence an urgent public health crisis. This came out on the 25th, 3 days ago. A lot of people did not see this, and I'll pull up a better article of this in a few minutes. But basically, 3 days ago, before the debate, the Surgeon General came out and they were trying to push gun control to make everyone be afraid. They were basically trying to set up the debate for Joe Biden. and saying, "Oh my God, guns are the most dangerous thing. Oh my God, Trump and the MAGA, they want guns for everyone." This is right about the same time that the Supreme Court was making the decision about guns and domestic abuse, and so they dovetailed with all of that and said, "Oh yeah, Surgeon General said," and now the news media reported, as you just saw, guns are a health crisis. Except that's not what the Surgeon General actually said. What the Surgeon General actually said is the fear mongering about guns and mass shootings is the health crisis. That the way that the news media and politicians are talking about mass shootings puts fear and anxiety into the public, and that fear and anxiety is a health concern. In fact, what they're saying is the fear mongering from the left about guns is more dangerous to the public health than mass shootings. That's what the Surgeon General said. They just changed it up to say, no, it's about guns. No, it's not. It's not about the guns. It's about the reporting. It's about the fear mongering. It's about the fake images and this message that you can't be protected. Oh my God, you're stepping outside. You're going to be killed by a mass shooting. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's not even close.
And if you're scared,
what?
If
Me?
you're scared,
No.
buy a gun.
What, we're supposed to be scared of? What is that?
If you're scared, go out and buy a gun.
Yeah.
Get training.
That's the thing.
Get a gun.
Okay.
Go buy a gun. Call me up. We'll go to the range. We'll have some fun, and we'll stave off that fear together. We will fight through the fear.
You would think that would be the answer, but I just found it really interesting that the Surgeon General came out and told us the fear mongering from the media and the progressive anti-Second Amendment groups are hurting people's health. They're giving them anxiety, and it's hurting their hearts. And the media decided, well, we have two choices. We can either lie and say it's about guns, or kill the story, don't talk about it, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And considering the way everyone's looking at the story and going, "You serious, Mike?" They killed the story. I caught it.
They did.
No one else did.
I actually saw it as well when it came out, and it's yeah, they killed it. Okay, because it was going to go against their narrative. Okay, and that's the thing is right now, Democrats need the fear mongering. That's the only way they can get their support. Okay, you go on X, and go through X, and you go through the comments and the posts and stuff, and the biggest majority of them is nothing but instituting fear. And I don't care which side you're looking at. It's literally that. And that's what our politics has become, is nothing more than fear mongering.
Now,
Yeah,
I'd ask
Phoenix Prepper as the open border is giving people anxiety and fear. So when are they going to declare that a health emergency? That is a great comment, great question. The problem with that is, as far as the Democrats, is people owning guns doesn't work into their narrative, where people coming across the border illegally does have a purpose for why they want that. So no, they don't expect that to be declared a public health emergency.
No, that's a good thing, because illegal aliens are good. That's why New York, Chicago, Boston, and LA are all going bankrupt. I mean, because obviously illegal aliens are good. And of course, mass shootings are constant. Every single minute of the day, there's a mass shooting somewhere in America, isn't there?
Well,
the media wants you to think.
When a day happens when there's not a shooting, that's when Democrats are depressed.
Yeah.
Democrats live for mass shootings. That's why they have recalculated the description and definition of what a mass shooting is. That's why they pray for mass shootings to take place, because if it bleeds, it leads, and if it leads, they raise money on it. They love to stand on the bodies of dead children and walk around with bloody footprints. It adds to their narrative. They love shootings. So when they say, oh, it's a public health crisis, it's this, it's that, they want to do that because what Dal mentioned is that that's a work into the national red flag laws, which unfortunately the Supreme Court had one ruling this week, which they screwed up pretty badly, which is kind of opening the doors for that. We're going to get into that next week. But again, unless they have national reciprocity, they're not going to be able to pass a national red flag law. They're not going to be able to tell you have the right for one thing and not for another. Not when it's the same thing. And plus, we have the 10th Amendment, which prevents that from taking place. So we're going to get into all of that next week.
But I wanted to ask Jan and John, because quite honestly, the whole fear mongering about mass shootings, about you're not safe. They always love to target women. Oh, you're not going to be safe unless we get rid of all the guns. They target people like John, who are younger, and saying, oh my God, you're not going to be safe because of mass shootings. You go to school, you're going to be mass shooting. So you have to vote Democrat so that we can take away the Second Amendment that criminals and the deranged don't care about and don't follow and have never followed. And the last 50 years of gun crime proves that. But let me ask John, do you think the Surgeon General was right that it's the fear mongering that's the problem? Or do you think the media is right when they tell you, oh, no, it's the guns? Either one of you can go. They both look at me like, I'm not sure which one's going. Go ahead. Either one of you. I don't care.
I don't listen to none of them. I make up my own mind. I'm so glad I grew up in a time period where you could think for yourself without social media. Because I feel so sorry for these generations with social media. Everything is instant. Nobody researches anymore. Nobody think for yourselves, people. Stop being told what to think and how to feel.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
Martin Mull passed away.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I saw that.
80 years old.
Sure.
Who's
Who's good? Night Court. Among others.
That was Richard Mull.
Was it?
Richard Mull played Bull on Night Court. Martin Mull is an entirely different guy. And
he was
Richard
in Roseanne,
Mull
I think.
died 2 years ago. No, died last year.
Okay, well then I got the actors wrong.
It's when I saw the name, I had to run that by myself again too.
I'm not a movie guy. Go ahead. But while I'm trying to figure this out, John, go ahead. Answer the question I asked. Please.
It's definitely the fear mongering. And I almost question if it's working because, a little background, I was a community organizer for a conservative organization, obviously out in Arizona. Kind of community director for conservative grassroots movement. And I talked to a lot of different people, far left, far right. And I'm going to be honest, the younger generation of Democrats and liberals actually stand more on the right than the left when it comes to the Second Amendment. Oddly enough, doesn't matter how far left, a lot of younger people support two-way in general. They aren't supporting what the media is feeding them. A lot of these older generations, no offense, a lot of the older Democrats are obviously doing a lot of the fear mongering, but I don't think it's working for the younger generation. Because like I said, a lot of people I talk to, doesn't matter how far left, I met a Cornell West voter who even said, the only issue I'm right on is the Second Amendment. You should be able to own what you want. So I almost wonder if it's going to backfire, right? This fear mongering, it's going to encourage people, like Frank said, the only way to solve this is to arm yourself properly and train properly with that firearm.
Well-
I almost wonder if that's going to be the overall reaction with my generation and the next generation.
Well,
the first stage of any authoritarian government is to remove the guns.
True.
that's
Remove
the
the
one
guns and control
challenge
the
that,
speech.
John, that's the one challenge that, as somebody in your position, has to make. When you start finding people that are to the left, but they do support gun ownership, the one thing that you're going to have to really do is reiterate the fact that without these, there are no other rights.
Yeah.
Is that everything that they believe in, one way or another, you will not have the opportunity to speak your mind if you cannot protect yourself. You will not be able to protect your family if you can't protect yourself. You will not be able to practice your faith, your sexuality. You will not be able to do any of the things that you hold dear if you do not have the ability to protect yourself. So when you find somebody that has that, that's the kink in the armor right there, is that Second Amendment. That's where you can start to pry in and show, listen, what makes you think that you would want to support that, but you don't want to support this? And show how there's a correlation between the two of them. You start opening up a lot more avenues, for people when they start seeing it. So if you can find those people, like, and work with them, I commend you. I'm not going to get too far into your personal, but are you a proponent and current practitioner?
I moved back to New York recently, but I used to live in Arizona where I had my concealed carry permit, and it is constitutional carry as well. So I was.
Right. How long are you in New York?
I've been in about a couple months now, a year maybe.
Well, find out. Well, just look at your driver's license and find out when your issue date was. Go down to your sheriff's department and pick up a concealed carry application. Fill out the application, go through the process, and get yourself armed and ready to go. Check back with us. I will help you get your training done for your 12-hour class that's necessary with good people that'll get you walk through that with no problem. Because if you're going to walk the walk, you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You are, judging by your area code, you're in Broome County?
Yes.
All right, you should have no trouble.
And I have a question. Frank, you would know this better than people. So when I was out in Arizona, I had a membership to the USCCA, just in case anything happens.
Not valid in New York.
Not valid in New York. I was going to ask that.
Yeah, you can't get it
why
here.
exactly? Do you think that's part of the barrier to a lot of people?
Well, here's part of the problem with. All right, we rep for U.S. Law Shield, USCCA. We know what works and what don't. We try to advocate that people get coverage of one kind or another, because nobody wants to go in front of a judge without a lawyer or have to come out of their own pocket. But here's the thing with states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and a lot of the other left-wing dominions like California and stuff like that. They will outlaw, this is how they try to get around the Second Amendment, and this is done purposely. They will outlaw the ability for you to get concealed carry insurance. They will outlaw it completely. They say, offer not valid in New York State. That's what you'll see on the commercial. You'll see it on the bottom of the website. And then they'll have in a parliamentary decision, have the state go in and say, well, as part of the new criteria for having a concealed carry license, you're going to require that you carry some sort of firearm insurance.
And the only insurance that you're going to be, firearm insurance that you're going to be able to get is the state firearm insurance.
Right, because they've outlawed everything else. And then they'll tell you, well, your premium is $14,000 a month is your premium. You have a $2 million deductible, and you have to surrender your kidney and firstborn child in order to utilize it. Because as long as they provide an option, a workaround for the law that they've created, regardless of how unreasonable it is, it'll be acceptable. They'll tell you you have to have insurance. And well, I can't afford the insurance. Well, that's not our problem that you can't afford the insurance. It's available. It's available for you. Like Obamacare, you can't afford the it's a law. You have to buy it. Well, I can't afford it. Well, you have to pay the fine. I can't afford the fine. Then buy the policy. Well, I can't afford the policy. Well, the option is there, but until then, you're in violation of the law, and that's how they're going to do it with that. But in the meantime, I would suggest you go get yourself a good rifle for home protection.
I appreciate it.
You don't need a pistol permit for that.
No.
Shotguns. They clear rooms.
Like I tell my wife, go get a shotgun. And when something happens, go outside and let off 2 blasts.
Well, I'm not going
Right
that.
into the air.
Again, where'd that come from? The same genius who doesn't know how to speak last night. That's from Zombie Bite.
Guy with the 4 handicap.
Yeah. But a shotgun is great for home defense.
All right, let me explain something about a shotgun real quick. You always hear people say, oh, the most intimidating sound that a burglar could hear is the sound of a shotgun racking.
Well, no.
Let me explain something. If you have a burglar coming into your home and you have to rack your shotgun, you've already failed. See, why? There should already be one in the chamber.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of nuances we can get into in that. But
well, that's just
we're at the end of the show.
It's something I teach. You should carry one in the chamber. That's what they're designed for.
Yeah. So that was it about talking about. We saved it for the end, but this Surgeon General, something that most people haven't heard about, which obviously is very involved in the Second Amendment discussion, which does have to do with national red flag law. I mean, I'll go into it for you guys. I can tell you right now, I already know it's very similar to the bill that Marco Rubio tried to pass. That
it's not going.
That somehow Trump was thinking about, and Joe Biden's all for, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's dead in the water, and thank God. But I'll get into details with it for next week. I'll be ready for it. But I wanted to cover that. So that's everything I had. And we've still got 3 minutes left in the show.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Should I wrap that up with the announcement that I made to you guys off air?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If by some chance any of our listeners or viewers happen to be in the great state of Tennessee, in the city of Knoxville, on August 16th, 17th, or 18th, and would like to swing by the convention center at Knoxville, you may have an opportunity to hear me speaking to the public. Even the dog is excited about it. Yes, I've been invited to speak this year at GOA. I'm going to be telling. I'm going to be. It's not what you. It's not what you. What you should. Not what you say. It's what you can prove. You know, that's the basis of my. Of the speech that I'm going to be giving. It's not what you say. It's what you can prove. And I'm going to try and help the Second Amendment community by reforming part of our message to take back what's ours, because there's too many people on the opposite side of the aisle that have concocted stories that they can't prove and concocted lies. And I'm going to be coming in to give us a new message and a new meaning and something that we can prove. So if you're in there and you're at the Gun Owners for America convention, which is their first annual convention, this August 16th, 17th, and 18th, I will be not only working the floor, but I will be giving a public speech on the main stage. So please join us if you can. And listen, GOA is a great organization. They do great work. We'd love for everybody to join Liberty First Foundation. It's $15 a month. Go to the website, find out. You may have an opportunity to be a recipient of a Henry Golden Boy 22 lever action rifle. But we'd also like for you to give GOA a handout if you can and join them, because they were among the first groups that helped us make sure that we got our pistol braces back for our rifles. They were there to help with the bump stock legislation. They've been there to help with a lot of legislation over the years. They continue to fight for us every day, and they have now they have some really great speakers coming to town. So they're doing a good job. So that's my announcement. As soon as I get it set in stone, we're going to be sharing that advertisement with you guys here. But come out to Knoxville. It's going to be a great show, a great time. And if you're there on Friday, we got range day. So guns and stuff.
Bang, bang, bang.
I'm not allowed to show any of my stuff here. That's why I get out of the way of the camera every now and then, make people jealous.
True enough, especially in New York State. Very jealous.
That's why I said you guys got to get rid of that. You got to get rid of your legislature. You got to get rid of that governor. You've got to fight for your friggin' freedoms, people. Fight for them. It's not just New York and Albany. It's not just New York, the city and Albany. You got a whole friggin' state of people in between. Get to the friggin' polls. Get rid of these friggin' people. For God's sake, George Washington gave his inaugural address on Wall Street in New York City. This is the birthplace of one of our greatest presidents in New York. And look at what you look at yourselves. Just look at yourselves.
Yeah,
Get
I
your
know.
freedom back.
Hochul is she's not the woman of dreams. Nightmares maybe, but not dreams. But we made it 2:01.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going outside to have a cigarette. All right. Listen, I'm going to be signing out. Hey, listen, John, thanks for joining us over here. Anytime that you want to come in and be a panelist on the show, just give us a heads up. You're always more than welcome. The more voices, the merry. Dal's always popping in every now and then. But
I appreciate it, especially it being last minute. But it was a topic I really wanted to touch on my own personal experiences with the organizations involved.
Well,
now that shirt you're wearing,
joining us and your insight on this. That's for sure. I mean, folks, don't take our word for it. Do your own research. It's available. Okay, the entire Project 25 is available online. Just go to project2025.org and you can read every line of it. And it'll tell you, okay, these people that are trying to blow it up and try to say that it's going to dismantle the Constitution, that it's a guise to set it up as an authoritarian, set Trump in as an authoritarian, and all this other stuff, it's all hype. Okay, it's fear mongering. It is what they are doing to try to turn you against Trump. And the thing is, everything they've tried has failed. They've tried lawfare. They've tried suing him and getting all of his money away from him, and everything has failed that they put up against him. Because people know that they were better off under Trump than they are under Biden. That's what it amounts to. And Democrats are running scared. That's why they are literally, you got a representative, Swalwell. Okay, he's saying, yeah, I see, you're scared. Biden's not going to get elected. Well, then elect us all into the House. Okay, make sure Congress is Democrat. Okay, wake up. Democrats have put us in this position. Democrats love to set these things that we can't get out from under. It's time to start changing our government back to the way our founders intended it to be. That's
Amen.
what it amounts to. That's what Project 2025 is actually what it's about, is getting us back to our constitutional foundation, where we, the people, we're the ones that control government, not the administrative state.
Vats, any closing thoughts?
One, going to Freedom Fest 2024 is coming up very, very shortly. I will be there. So people will expect coverage while I'm there. That's from July 9th to the 14th.
Where's that going to be held?
Las Vegas.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Already got the ticket, already got the room, already in. I'm set. I'm going to be there. So we'll be getting some coverage from that. I just double checked, and yeah, that super chat was the first super chat I have ever gotten on YouTube. Thank you, James. That was a first. So that was really cool. And just want to point that out. First one ever. Love it.
Cool. Closing thoughts.
Well, we won't be live again till after Independence Day. So I would like for everybody to really sit down and look at the state of America today and understand what Independence Day is and why it's so important to us. We are still a young country compared to any other country out there, and we're being destroyed from within.
And honestly, folks, do yourselves a favor. Read through the Declaration of Independence and compare it to what's going on with our government today. I think you would be very surprised.
This is my favorite holiday. I cry with the fireworks on July 4th. I don't, or on the Independence Day, I should say. I don't like the term July 4th. I think we take away from the meaning.
Well, it is Independence Day, okay? Because France has got July 4th. Okay, so does Russia.
If you celebrate July 4th, but you don't like guns, you have no right to celebrate the 4th of July or Independence Day, I should say, because Independence Day was won by colonists who brought their own firearms to the fight and won the freedom for you. So if you don't appreciate the gun, you can't appreciate your freedom.
Very true.
My closing would be that, and to wish everybody a happy Independence Day. It's not just about barbecues and football or whatever sports you happen to be watching. There is a reason we celebrate Independence Day.
Dal's got a question for you, Jan.
Dal, just messenger me. Jan Rains.
I don't know if Bell's on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna sign off real quick with my usual thing about you guys always be safe and shoot straight. But I just wanted to say one last thing before I go. Today is August 28th, 2024. It's the 1 year anniversary of my mom's passing. And it's been a really, really rough day, a really, really rough year for me. And a lot of the people that are on the screen here and a lot of people that are in the audience have sent me letters of support over that time. And I appreciate it very much. I know my mom is not only proud of what I'm doing, but she's proud of what we're all doing, because she was a fighter at heart, and she understood the value of freedom, and she understood the value of her being able to speak her mind, because nobody did it like she did. So, and July 3rd is her birthday, so we always hold it at the July 4th fireworks were for her. So, love you guys. Be safe. Shoot straight. God bless America. And make sure that on July 5th, you all have fingers still counting 10.
Hey, Dahl, worst case scenario, just send me a text. You've got my number. Send me a text and I can get Jan.
Yep.
As well. So either way.
Okay. Are we
All
good?
right, kids. Have a good night.
Have a great night, guys.
Good night.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up.
Oh, I thought we were out already. Okay.
No, not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Everyone's